What if I told you that dying for 5 minutes taught me the 7 sacred duties every human must fulfill on earth? After being clinically dead for nearly 5 minutes, Jesus personally revealed these life-changing truths that have transformed thousands of lives. In the next 20 minutes, I'll share the exact 7 duties that will revolutionize how you see your purpose, your relationships, and your daily mission forever. If you're ready for truth that will challenge everything you believe about why you're here, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to share comes directly from the other side. I understand skepticism. 6 months ago, I would have dismissed this story myself. But after experiencing the most profound spiritual encounter of my life and witnessing the transformation in thousands who've heard this message, I know these revelations are meant to be shared. This isn't just another near-death story. This is a divine assignment that could change your life forever. Let me take you directly to the moment that changed everything. 6 months ago, I was living what I thought was a perfectly normal life. I worked as a project manager for a tech company, went through my daily routines, and had what I considered a decent relationship with God. I prayed sometimes, went to church occasionally, but I never really thought about the deeper purpose of existence. I was comfortable in my spiritual complacency, completely unaware of how much I was missing. The morning it happened started like any other Tuesday, but I felt this strange sensation, like something significant was about to unfold. Around 11 in the morning, during a video call with my team, sudden crushing pain exploded in my chest. It hit like a freight train, radiating down my left arm and up into my jaw. I tried to speak, to tell my colleagues something was wrong, but the words wouldn't come. The room started spinning, and then everything went black. I was having a massive heart attack. My neighbor found me collapsed 30 minutes later. The paramedics worked on me for 12 minutes before they got a pulse back. At the hospital, my heart stopped twice more. The doctors told my family that I was clinically dead for a total of 4 minutes and 57 seconds. But during those moments of clinical death, I wasn't unconscious. I was more awake than I had ever been in my entire life, and that's when I found myself somewhere impossible. The first thing I noticed wasn't what I saw, but what I felt. Pure, overwhelming love. Not the conditional love we experience as humans, but perfect, unconditional, all-encompassing love that wrapped around me like warm light. I knew immediately that I was in the presence of something divine. I found myself standing in a realm of pure light, not harsh or blinding, but gentle golden light that seemed to pulse with life itself. The ground beneath my feet felt solid, yet somehow made of the same luminous energy. In the distance, I could hear what sounded like music, but it wasn't coming through my ears. It was resonating through my very soul. His voice was unlike anything earthly. When Jesus spoke to me, I heard him not with my ears, but with every part of my being. His presence was both comforting and awe-inspiring. I could feel his infinite wisdom, his boundless compassion, and his deep concern for humanity. "My child," he said, and those 2 words contained more love than I had ever experienced. "You have been brought here for a purpose. There are truths that humanity has forgotten, duties that every soul is meant to fulfill during their time on earth. I want you to carry this knowledge back with you." I tried to speak, to ask questions, but he continued with gentle authority. "Listen carefully, for these 7 duties are not suggestions. They are sacred responsibilities that every person must understand and embrace to fulfill their divine purpose." As he revealed the first duty, I felt the truth of it resonate through my entire being. The first duty is to recognize the divine spark within every person you encounter. Every soul you meet is a sacred being, created in love, carrying a piece of the divine light. You must see past their earthly struggles, their mistakes, their pain, and acknowledge the holy presence within them. When you truly see the divine in others, you honor both them and me. This hit me like a revelation. How many times had I walked past someone on the street without really seeing them? How often had I dismissed people based on their appearance, their circumstances, or their behavior? Jesus was showing me that every interaction is a sacred opportunity to recognize and honor the divine. The second duty, he continued, is to speak words that heal rather than harm. Your words carry power beyond your understanding. They can lift a soul from despair or crush a spirit in moments. Every conversation is an opportunity to channel divine love through your speech. Choose words that encourage, that comfort, that inspire. Let your tongue be an instrument of healing in a world that desperately needs it. But here's what hit me hardest about this duty. I thought about all the thoughtless words I had spoken over the years, the gossip, the complaints, the harsh judgments. Just that week before my heart attack, I had criticized a co-worker's presentation in a way that I could see crushed her confidence. Jesus was revealing that our speech is one of our most powerful tools for either serving or betraying our divine purpose. The third duty is to forgive not because others deserve it, but because your soul requires it for growth. Holding on to anger, resentment, and hurt is like drinking poison and expecting others to suffer. Forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior. It is about freeing your own spirit to love more fully. When you forgive, you align yourself with divine mercy. What struck me most was how I had been carrying a grudge against my brother for 3 years over a family disagreement. In that moment, I could feel the weight of that resentment like a physical burden. This taught me that forgiveness isn't just about being nice or following religious rules. It's about spiritual freedom. Every grudge we hold is a chain that keeps us from experiencing the fullness of divine love. But here's what Jesus showed me next that completely transformed my understanding of giving. The fourth duty is to give generously without keeping score. This doesn't mean only giving money, though financial generosity is important when you're able. Give your time, your attention, your skills, your compassion. Give without expectation of return, recognition, or reward. When you give freely, you participate in the divine flow of abundance that sustains all creation. Here's what blew my mind about this duty. I realized I had been calculating every act of kindness, expecting reciprocal treatment, getting resentful when people didn't return favors. I remembered keeping mental scorecards of who owed me what, getting frustrated when colleagues didn't help me after I'd assisted them with projects. What struck me most was that this wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic acts of charity. It was about living with an open heart, ready to share whatever we have been given, whether that's resources, talents, or simply our presence. The fifth duty is to seek truth with courage, even when it challenges your comfortable beliefs. Do not settle for easy answers or popular opinions. Pray for wisdom, study with an open mind, and be willing to grow beyond the limitations of your current understanding. Truth is not always comfortable, but it is always liberating. But here's what I didn't expect about seeking truth. It completely shattered my comfortable assumptions about faith itself. I realized how often I had avoided difficult spiritual questions, choosing the safety of surface-level belief over the vulnerability of deeper seeking. I thought about the times I dismissed theological discussions that challenged my worldview, or avoided books that might have expanded my understanding of God's nature. This challenged me because I realized how often I had settled for spiritual mediocrity rather than pushing myself to grow and understand more deeply. The sixth duty is to protect the innocent and defend those who cannot defend themselves. This includes children, the elderly, the poor, the oppressed, and all of creation that suffers under human neglect. You are called to be a guardian of the vulnerable, a voice for the voiceless. When you stand up for those who are powerless, you serve as my hands and feet in the world. Now here's what hit me like a lightning bolt about this duty. I remembered a specific moment, just months before my heart attack, when I witnessed a manager at work berating a young intern until she was nearly in tears. I sat in that meeting, saying nothing, choosing my own comfort over her protection. I thought about the homeless veteran I passed every day on my way to work, making excuses about why I couldn't spare a few minutes to actually talk with him or understand his story. I felt the weight of this responsibility deeply. How many times had I witnessed injustice and remained silent? How often had I chosen comfort over courage when someone needed protection or advocacy? As he prepared to reveal the seventh duty, the atmosphere around us intensified. The light grew brighter, more golden, and I could feel that this final duty contained something extraordinary. The seventh duty is different. It contains all the others, Jesus said, his voice filled with profound love. Your ultimate purpose is to remember and help others remember that every soul is on a journey back to me. You are not separate from the divine, you are not abandoned, and you are not worthless. You are beloved children making your way home. Every interaction is an opportunity to remind someone of their sacred identity and eternal worth. Be a light that helps others remember who they truly are. As he revealed the final duty, I understood the cosmic importance of why we're here. We're not just individuals trying to survive and succeed in a random universe. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and our job is to help each other remember our divine nature and purpose. The weight of this responsibility was overwhelming, but not burdensome. It felt like finally understanding the missing piece of a puzzle I had been trying to solve my entire life. This is why we're here. This is what gives our existence meaning beyond our personal goals and desires. Jesus continued, when humanity embraces these 7 duties, the world will transform, not through force or legislation, but through the power of awakened souls living according to their divine purpose. Every person who commits to these duties becomes a catalyst for healing in the world. I could see it then, a vision of earth filled with people who saw the divine in each other, who spoke healing words, who forgave freely, who gave generously, who sought truth courageously, who protected the innocent, and who helped others remember their sacred identity. Tears were streaming down my face as I witnessed this breathtaking transformation, a world renewed not by governments or institutions, but by individuals choosing to live according to their highest calling. As I felt myself returning to my body, Jesus spoke one final time. The choice is always yours. Free will is sacred, but know that every day you spend on earth there is an opportunity to fulfill these duties and participate in the divine plan of love. The transition back to physical consciousness was jarring. One moment I was in perfect peace and clarity, surrounded by divine love, and the next I was gasping for air in a hospital bed, surrounded by beeping machines and concerned faces. The doctors were amazed. Dr. Martinez, my cardiologist, looked at my brain scans and said something I'll never forget. In 30 years of cardiology, I've never seen someone recover like this. Your heart function is perfect, and your brain activity is showing patterns I can't explain. He told me later that given the severity of my heart attack and the length of time I was without a pulse, they expected significant brain damage. But every test came back normal, better than normal actually. My heart function had completely restored itself, and my cognitive abilities were sharper than before. But the most dramatic change wasn't physical. Everything I thought I knew about life had changed. I couldn't look at another person without seeing the divine spark Jesus had shown me. I couldn't speak without considering whether my words would heal or harm. The 7 duties weren't just instructions I had received. They had become part of my very being. The first few weeks after my return were overwhelming. How do you integrate an experience of divine revelation into ordinary daily life? How do you explain to your family and friends that you've been given sacred knowledge that could transform the world? Some people thought I was suffering from hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation. Others were inspired and wanted to hear more, but as I began to live according to the 7 duties, I saw their power. My relationships deepened. Conflicts that had persisted for years resolved when I approached them with forgiveness and divine perspective. That grudge against my brother dissolved completely when I called him and took responsibility for my part in our disagreement. Opportunities to serve and give opened up everywhere I looked. My speech became more intentional, more healing. I found myself having conversations with strangers who desperately needed to be reminded of their worth and purpose. The transformation wasn't just personal. As I shared the 7 duties with others, I watched their lives change too. A co-worker who had been bitter for years learned to forgive and found peace. A neighbor who struggled with purpose discovered her calling to help homeless families. My own family began to see our daily interactions as opportunities to practice divine love. Now, I want to share this gift with you. These 7 duties aren't just nice ideas or religious concepts. They're practical spiritual tools that can revolutionize your life and your impact on the world. When you recognize the divine in others, speak healing words, forgive freely, give generously, seek truth courageously, protect the innocent, and help others remember their sacred identity, you align yourself with the very purpose for which you were created. I know what you're thinking. 7 duties feels overwhelming when you're already struggling with daily life. But here's what I've learned. You don't have to perfect all 7 at once. Start with 1. Maybe begin by really seeing the people you encounter today, looking for the divine spark in each person. Or perhaps focus on your speech, asking yourself before you speak whether your words will heal or harm. The beautiful thing about these duties is that they build on each other. When you truly see the divine in others, speaking healing words becomes natural. When you practice forgiveness, giving generously flows more easily. Each duty strengthens your ability to live the others. Which of these duties resonates most with your soul right now? Take a moment to listen to your heart. Maybe there's one that's calling to you, one that you know you need to focus on in this season of your life. Your spiritual awakening starts now. This isn't just information to think about. It's a divine invitation to transform your life and participate in healing the world. If these 7 sacred duties touched your heart like they transform mine, subscribe now to receive weekly insights on implementing these divine truths, plus exclusive revelations Jesus continues to share with me. Hit that bell icon and join our community of over 50,000 souls committed to living their divine purpose. These 7 duties changed my life completely. They can change yours too. The question isn't whether they work. I've seen their power firsthand. The question is whether you're ready to embrace the sacred responsibility of being fully alive in your divine purpose. How will you implement these duties in your daily life? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Remember, every soul you encounter today is waiting for someone to recognize their divine nature and help them remember who they truly are. Your journey toward fulfilling your sacred duties begins with your very next interaction. Make it count.